Our lives are a string of insights, flashes of inspiration that can be the catalyst for new ideas. However, our pace of life these days means we tend to miss some of them completely. I'm Dave Hill, and I'm the host of the Simple Reflections podcast, a fortnightly series of interviews with people from all walks of life. Our conversations are an invitation to reflect on some of the simple insights my guests have had that have gone on to have a profound impact on their lives. So grab a cuppa and a biscuit, join us, slow down for a little while and see what shows up for you. Welcome to the next episode of the Simple Reflections podcast. Today I'm joined by a lovely chap, Oli Mansfield. Oli is a transformational and performance coach based in Marlow in Buchinghamshire, and he's an interesting guy. He's worked with all kinds of clients, from chairman of football clubs to racing drivers to people with brain injuries and children navigating life at the start of things. Oli and I met through Jamie Smart. Oli did the clarity certification training a year or two before me, and has then been on the advanced program. So our paths have crossed over the last couple of years, and I've really enjoyed his company. His sort of fun, engaging, and relaxed way has been something that's prompted me to have this conversation today, because I wanted to get to know him more. So this is purely self-interest from my point of view, but also I thought it would be a lovely opportunity to bring him onto the podcast so that you guys get to meet him. Oli, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me and inviting me on.
No, you're very, very welcome. As we were discussing before we came on, one of the things that I'm really interested in the creation of this podcast is sharing different people's views of how experience is created. And you've been coaching now for well over 20 years. You will have had a vast array of clients along that journey, and also seen your own growth and development along that way. What is the thing that's keeping that exciting for you at the moment? What is the thing that gets you jumping out of bed to work with the clients that you do today?
That's a great question. The first thing that popped into my head listening to you was, I think because I'm my number one client. I think we're always growing and changing and making mistakes and having misunderstandings and being brilliant, and then making more mistakes and having more misunderstandings. I think I now see that throughout the last 20 something years, through the undulations of life, and we've all had our challenges, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And as those challenges or growth spells have come, I've been fascinated about trying to understand myself and why we do what we do and why I do what I do. And also just love working with people. I love people. I love spending time with people and listening to people. And actually, I think I hope for creating a better world for all of us. And I think that's the same as your good self and many of the people that are listening even today. And I want to be a part of that, even if it's just in my own small little way. And one of my favourite quotes by Howard Thurman, who was a teacher of Martin Luther King, said, don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive, and go and do it, because what the world needs is for you to come alive. So that's kind of my aim and objective for myself and my clients, is to get more people living, get more people loving and having hope and faith and understanding, and hopefully we can enrich the world a bit more.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I hadn't heard that quote before. It's how true, how true. I ran a group with a friend of mine. Crikey, I don't remember if it was last January or the January before. That's irrelevant. It's funny where my mind jumps. It's like, oh, when was that? And the first question we asked people was, tell us a time of when you felt most alive. because we can all reimagine that experience, and that in itself brings us back to the what that felt like at the time, and reinvigorates us in this moment. And it speaks completely to the center of, the three principles understanding, the thing, the thing that Sydney Banks brought to all of us, that you and I both know quite a bit about, which is lovely, but is in that we are the creators of our own experience moment to moment through the relationship with the thoughts that we're having. And um, subtly inviting people to think about some point in their time in their life when they felt the most alive, reinvigorates that feeling within them and go, right, cool, let's talk about that. What has just happened now? Because that moment that you're reliving isn't real anymore, but the experience you're having is. And it's a real gateway into what is possible. And I absolutely love that. And the fact that there isn't really any expertise required in that. It's available to all of us.
Yeah, yeah. It's just insight.
Mm.
That's all. That's all that's needed. And I guess like Jamie would say, is that's what we do. Is I do is create the that space for insight and realization. We don't do the heavy lifting; the client does, and we just create that the conditions so that's possible. And like you say, by looking at when did you feel alive, you're presupposing that can happen again.
Hmm.
And again, as you say, Sydney Banks said, as hope and faith as beacons, that's possible. So,
Mm.
we're never not creating, as Steve Hardison would say. And so, what would you love to create? And which is obviously a question that I ask very regularly, and I'm sure you do as well. But what would you love to create? And get us pointing ourselves in that direction.
Mm. Yeah, I think the our capacity to create is infinite. Um, our capacity to tell ourselves we can't is also infinite, and and uh, and realizing that both of those views we're creating in the moment and don't really exist. They don't have any tangible um, facts to them, but we tend to lean more into the thing that says we can't, and then think less of ourselves as a result of that. What I've come to see uh, and I loved what you said about being your number one client. It made me smile. I have a feeling that may end up have something to do with the title of this, but the exploring that for myself, seeing where I am providing myself with limitation, and realizing that is at one absolutely okay, and two, me trying to protect myself. Well, that's cool. That is like double checking to make sure it's safe to cross the road.
Mm.
Nothing wrong in that. It's just a little check step to make sure that we are heading in the right direction, and that is it. And then we get an opportunity to make that step and see what's possible from there. And that is what's exciting. Is with the work that we do, walking alongside people metaphorically as they make those steps, um, and providing them, as you said, with what Jamie would call an insight friendly space to be able to do that and feel supported in the process. And it's such a privilege. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yes, no, it is. It's I think even just hearing or seeing someone have that insight that change is possible is is wonderful in itself, because I think that often um we have a misunderstanding, we work on it, we're naturally want to stay in a comfortable or safe place, which isn't usually a happy, can't, isn't, or can be an unhappy place, but a comfortable place, a safe space for lots of different reasons. And then we just look outside ourselves to create the reasons why this is happening to me, and this is my story. And then we can keep going with that story for 40 years, 50 years. And like you're uh, beautifully saying is, this can all change in a second within
Mm.
just, one thought away, as we've heard before. We're only ever one thought away from like just realizing this is not technical. I wish it was. I'd love to be. We're just talking about your daughter doing a master's in physics and maths. I'd love it to be as complex as that, but I can't flex those kind of muscles. It's uh, it's much more simple than that, and that's what's so beautiful about it, and probably paradoxical about it. And why people quite often probably back away from it because it doesn't satisfy the intellect enough.
Hmm.
But we're not our intellect, we're much more than that. We have a brain, but we're not that intellect, and this goes beyond that, and it goes further upstream. And that's really how I work with clients. Is whatever my clients' dreams or wants or needs are, is I want to take them upstream to the formless rather than this world of form.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly where the magic happens, that's for certain. Um, I from our conversation earlier, the vast majority of your work is one to one, and you love creating space for people that is private. It's between you and them, and there's no uh yeah there's that that is a wonderful gift in itself. And I absolutely don't want you to break any of that. But how have your given the sort of the range of clients that you've had and some of the things that they do that are quite procedural. If you think about a racing driver, there is an element of um, instinctive skill and training that goes into that, but then a whole load of procedure that they're running all the time to be able to perform at their peak. I'm just curious, how have they taken to the idea of being taken upstream away from the procedural? You know, do these things and you'll be fine. This is the route to mastery. How do they feel about being taken out of that space into something that is potentially very different from their normal day to day?
Yeah, I love your question. I think, well, what I've come to realize, and this has definitely been a journey for me and still something that I'm learning, is I'm not seeing the title of someone as a racing driver or as a director or a CEO or a business owner or a mother or a father or anything. I'm seeing them as a whole, as something that's perfect and isn't broken and doesn't need fixing. And then from there, it's about, look, you know, I can navigate a roundabout, but I definitely can't navigate a race course in a very fast car, and I wouldn't want to even try and show anyone that I could. But I do know that we do better with less on our mind.
Mm.
So realistically, I'm not. I'm just working with a young person, a young man or woman or whatever age. But as we're talking about someone in a sport, um, and meeting them where they are, and I'm just wanting to understand their world and deeply listen to them, which, as you were pointed to a bit earlier, I think is a really great point, is none of us, or many of us, don't get listened to
Mm.
in a heartfelt way. And actually, we just started the summer holidays, and my daughter's off school, and even now, I'm reminding myself to put my phone down and actually listen. you know, when she, because I'm seeing a bit more of her through the day and so forth, and be present with her.
Mhm.
And it's very easy in this day and age to just do what you've always done, or act busy, or be busy, or be I'm a professional, or I am this, the I amness that we spit out regularly. So it doesn't matter who you are, you need to know it's great to be listened to, it's great to be understood, and then, like I said, being walked to the edge of your raft or your world and touching that unknown, that space where there's less thinking and there's and things slow down and quieten down. That sounds like a really sensible place for anyone making a decision, you know. And as I said, slow down. I was thinking, yeah, actually, if we can slow a racing driver down in their head, I think they're probably going to go faster.
Mhm.
So that's kind of my take on it.
Nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I completely agree and completely understand all of that. It makes so much sense. And I think what's interesting is they probably do too when it's explained to them like that. It's just, oh yeah, yeah, there is some juice in there. Let's go and explore that. And I am looking for the twinkle in someone's eye when they hear something fresh that okay, right, well, let's follow that lead. Wait, what's got you going at the moment? What's got caught your imagination? Let's play there because um it is playing in that space that the next iteration of someone appears.
Yeah,
And that's, I just love that because I also know in going there, it's probably somewhere I've not been either, and that's quite exciting too.
yeah. And just for someone, you know, if we were trying to write on the whiteboard now, what does a young racing driver think? I haven't got a clue. What, you know, I really don't. And it's that kind of, as we've been taught, you know, you want to go in with your inner dumbass. Who am I to be mighty enough or righteous enough to think that I know how anyone is thinking? You know, much as I've enjoyed some lovely conversations with you, Dave, you know, until ask you how you are and listen deeply, I don't know what's really going on for you in this moment or any moment.
Mm,
And again, so I think it would be arrogant to think that I do know what's going on in any professional or personal matter, because we all have this separate reality that we're experiencing. But what we can do is be really curious and hungry to find out, and I love that, you know, because I want to know how things are going for Dave Hill or for whoever. And then when someone's sharing, I don't know about you, but when I've been listened to deeply, you know, I just get insight even from hearing myself. I can
mm,
hear the stories and the repetition and the the rubbish that sometimes create, and sometimes I hear the brilliance of me as
mhm,
well, and it all spurs and lights something up within me, and I'm no longer that person, I'm something new, and
mhm.
that's creation.
Yeah, yeah. The In the last couple of years, inspiration has taken a new twist for me. Um, the way we use the word in terms of someone is inspiring. We think it's them, but what I'm now seeing more of is I'm seeing a reflection of what's possible in me in them. And that was game changing in terms of not only how I navigate life and show up, but also um, helping people play with that notion for themselves and seeing what it means to them, and that whatever they come up with is cool. But we get so caught up in how well, maybe not even caught up. We just take how society talks about things and go, yeah, that's true because that's what I'm hearing. And then when it becomes true, that's immutable, can't change it. It is what it is. And then we're stuck between these things of collective creation, which are getting in quite a lot of people's way.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. I mean, I hear it all the time. I mean, one of the because my background was in physiology and conditioning and hormones and things like that, and spines and jaws, um, and one of the precursors for working with me is that, we're going to use the world of form and our physiology to really help us, because as our good friend Greg Fisher would say, I was working with him and he called it the greatest hack to the formless is changing your physiology.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's the quickest way I know of helping someone change their state of being, or go to somewhere fresh and new, especially when we're struggling. So, but I've said to people, right, okay, so we're going to work together. You've been going to bed at 12 o'clock at night. Can we need to decide on an earlier time, because I need you to be functioning at a higher level in this world of form. And they'll say things like, well, I can't go to bed before the news at 10. And and again, my judgment is like, well, of course you can, but realistically, it's just very interesting. And it's like, all right, why do you think that? Because, like you say, we're just stuck in these different parameters and different stories and beliefs, which quite possibly be holding us back, or holding our healing back, or our growth back. Um, so when we get a glimpse of even those simplest of things, like going to bed half hour earlier, or helping out our parasympathetic system, our healing system, um, it can be game changing for someone that's been stuck in a certain way for many years.
Mm.
And who wants to watch the news at 10?
Yeah, yeah. Fill
Not good.
yourself with the world's dread just before you go to bed.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
it's not good for your health. Honestly, it's not for me to share and have tell anyone what to do. But on this occasion, I will say, please do not watch the news at 10.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. How do people take that? The sort of the the shake up of their routine.
Well, I think if they're really hungry enough and they want to do. So we're talking about creating massive, bold change. I'm not talking. We're not. We want to add zeros to our salary. We want passionate relationships. We want to win things. We want to heal. We want to. We want to conquer this disease in our body, or dysfunction in our body. These aren't things we're going to give half hour to a week. And if it is, then I'm not the right person to work with you. This
Yeah,
is
yeah.
about uh, this is about waking ourselves up. Like Howard Thurman said, this is about us coming alive and creating something new. And your possibilities, as you rightly said earlier, beautifully, those possibilities are endless and are phenomenal. And we are phenomenal, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And we need to see that. So, um, again, it's about curiosity. So when someone says, "Oh, I can't do that. I have to do this," I just get curious again. I'm not going to say, "Oh no, you have to."
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's more of a case of, "Oh, why is it like that? How come it's like that? Tell me more." And then it's a case of, "Can I show you something?" And I'll draw out the hormonal pathways and show that a pregnenolone still, which is something that happens when we are heading towards adrenal fatigue, will create dysfunction in the whole of the hormonal system. And if we've got a dysfunctional hormonal system, that's a precursor for lots of things, from musculoskeletal health to detoxification to organ failure to illness and disease in the body. So we want to really take this seriously, because some of the people that I work with are working endlessly. And when they're not working endlessly, they're probably trying to be a parent or trying to be a husband or a wife. And that can be fatiguing. So now, the world, much as we talk in Sydney Banks, we talk about the world of the formless world. The world of form is important, and
Mhm.
we can, much as I want to take everyone upstream, there are some simple, real simple things anyone can take action on now to help change, like drinking a little bit more water, going to bed a bit more earlier, moving your body gently. It doesn't have to be groundbreaking. And if you say, "Oh no, but I can't do that, Ollie," if you're listening to this now, and that's the initial thought in your head. Firstly, who's listening to that voice, because that's who you really are. And
Mhm.
secondly, get curious. Why is that? Why can't you drink a bit more water? Or why can't you go to bed a bit earlier? Or why can't you um, um, eat a bit cleaner or move a bit better? Because it's just, that's what we're doing is just creating the conditions for those kind of insights.
Yeah, that's lovely. And yeah, and I'm really, really hearing and feeling the passion that you have for all of that. And I can see why um, you're able to serve in the way, the way that you do in the world. Yeah, that was lovely. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. I just kind of want to add the in my opinion, when it comes to health and well-being, epigenetics is the future, the environment of a cell. And I got taught 20 years ago, I got taught something by one of my first teachers, who was the gold standard of kind of physical therapy. And he said there's six foundations of health. And the number one in hierarchical order was thought. And he taught me thought, but he didn't, it wasn't like we've been shown in the last few years. But then thought, ironically, has crept up in my life continually. And now I understand more about the principle of thought taking shape in the moment. But we're not getting chased by lions anymore in our, well, at least we're not in
Mhm.
England and Scotland. But we think we are. But it's the mobile phone ringing, it's the boss calling, it's the bank calling, it's the red notice, it's the children on games or on phone, our children on games or phones or something like that. And it's a metaphorical line, and it's doing exactly the same thing to our hormonal system.
Mhm.
So to understand that and to create health for ourselves is mightily important, and that comes from the principle of thought. So understanding where that experience comes from and who we are is just of huge importance, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And um, I can give an example of where I've caught myself out in the past. So being of service has been part of my life, probably for most of it, without necessarily having something concrete to pin on why. Um, but when I went to Sandhurst, scarily 28 years ago, or whenever it was, the motto there is serve to lead. And and that really sort of got ingrained in me in not in a, oh, that's a really interesting idea. It's like that makes perfect sense. And I'm seeing some great examples of it in the staff that were teaching us, and some less so. That's life. Um, but it also then went, okay, who do I want to be, and how do I want um, to serve the soldiers working for me? Because I might be the best leader there possibly is, but if I'm not bringing the people with me, I'm going to have zero effect in whatever endeavor it is that we've got to do. So it's a collective thing, and I can't deliver the effect that I'm being asked to without the people that I'm leading. Um, and I unknowingly have put that all of that in front of me, because serve to lead was I need to serve before I look after me. Um, that's
Well,
bitten.
that's great awareness.
Yeah, it's taken a couple of big slaps around the face to get there. Um, and the most recent one, probably 5 years ago, when I worked my way into having a stroke. Um, and I was, there was a lot going on. I was in the middle of, well, we were in the middle of COVID. Um, I was in the middle of getting divorced. We were moving house. There were a load of moving parts there. The relentless working through a screen, and therefore not ever escaping it, because the work you need to do is through the same screen. Um, yeah, I got a massive, great big slap round the face going, wake up.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I've been really lucky. I've come through and fully recovered. There's a little bit of fatigue occasionally, but that is about it. So I am hugely grateful for that. But I'm also bizarrely hugely grateful for the message my body has taught me. Um, because I now know, just like the whole sort of putting your mask on the aeroplane before you help anybody else. I am useless unless I look after myself. I can serve nobody unless I look after myself. And in the past, I'd have seen that as being selfish. And now I know it is the most selfless thing I can do.
Yeah,
I will parent better. I will be a better boyfriend. I will be a better um, coach to my clients. I will be a better mentor to the veterans that I work with. I'm just generally gonna be a better version of me. And um, it is amazing what a bit of perspective can provide for you um, if you're open to it. And that's what having a stroke did for me. Now I don't want people to be having strokes to get to that point. Let's try and catch that way earlier, um, and see what the possibilities are.
yeah. Well, great to see you looking so well, and being so well. Um, and I have my own stories about health and so forth, which we can talk about another time. But for me, how I explain what you're saying, is uh, the pain doctor is your best friend, and a good friend stabs you in the front. So he lets you know he's not subtle, or he or she or whoever the pain doctor is for you, but metaphorically speaking, um, for me, the pain doctor starts off trying to be subtle and whispers in your ear with a bit of fatigue or with a whatever something, and I'm sure we can track back times when, and then when we don't listen, he starts getting a little bit louder and a bit more physical, and until you do listen. And like you said, you listened, and I started listening in 2018 when I was in a hospital bed. So much as there's lots of years of experience, until we dropped out of our intellect and all the courses and education that we have and the certificates we've got, which is what I had, and actually ground ourselves in something um, much wiser, which is accessible to all of us. Um, I think we can all do damage to ourselves. So my urge is let's not, and to my clients especially, but to anyone listening, is listen to the gentle whispers of the pain doctor, and let's not, much as the pain doctor is our best friend, no, we don't need him turning up. So do what you can now. If there's any signs or symptoms, go start listening to that wisdom, that heartfelt wisdom, that love and understanding at the heart of our being, and ask some questions of what can I do now? Just
Mm.
1%, not huge things. You don't have to become a marathon runner. You don't have to become vegan or anything like that. But what you can do is you can start just little 1%, and you'll start getting visited by, what Hippocrates said was Dr. Happy and Dr. Quiet and Dr. Diet. So all these doctors, our best friend, we don't want really visiting too much. But he brings great messages, clear,
Yeah, yeah,
clear, in your face messages.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It grabs you by the ears and shakes you around.
Yeah, yeah. You haven't been listening, so now's the time to listen.
Mm.
So, and we all have that. Hopefully, most of us have that opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. Agreed. Um, yeah, there is a subtle, as you say, whisper that can catch our attention and subtly change our course or dramatically change it. It doesn't matter. It's the change of course that's important because, as you say, the whisper becomes a scream at some point, if you don't pay attention, and that is baked into every single one of us by design. And so with some of the work that I've done with Bill Pettit over the years, um, just like you're saying, the pain doctor is our best friend. Um, every single thing about us as human beings is designed to help us thrive,
Yeah,
including all of those. horrendous things that none of us want to experience. There, at somewhere, there is something in there that is trying to get our attention to help us change tack, and give ourselves a better opportunity to move from just surviving and coping with day-to-day life to thriving in that same space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just bringing it back to the racing driver analogy that we were using earlier on. When we have a quieter mind, we are able to navigate exactly the same volume of noise in the world. We'll just do it with more ease and more grace. And that is amazing. And it's available to everyone. And that is an absolute fact. I will, pin everything I know on, because I've seen it in myself, and I see it in the people that I work with, and I see it. In fact, I just see it in people generally, and I love that, because it doesn't take much to tap into and draw out of people.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and just leading on from what you're saying about a pain doctor, is this is not just about well-being. The pain doctor often visits me through awareness, and that's a good distinction, is worry versus awareness. Worry is not very helpful and doesn't give us options. Awareness gives us many options and the possibility to navigate this world. So if you're having a discussion with a business partner or a loved one or anything, and you suddenly feel some kind of uncomfortable feeling or pain, which I've had regularly with conversations, and say, well, that's again with that's awareness showing up. People are saying to me, Ollie, how do I make this better, or how do I do that? What's the tools? And I'm like, I haven't got any tools, but there's awareness. And when the pain doctor shows up, if there's an uncomfortable feeling, it's this wisdom in action pointing you in a direction. Now, beforehand, I'd have an uncomfortable feeling through a conversation. I look outside of myself and go, oh, it's because of Dave. He's making me feel this way. Okay. And now we know that, no, actually, this uncomfortable feeling is saying, hey, come back, go within, come home, take a deep breath, and slowly, in seconds, minutes, hours, or days, we self-calibrate and we come back, and I become closer to reality again, because whilst I was blaming you for some kind of uncomfortable feeling, which is impossible, I'm really far away from reality, and that means I'm more in danger, and obviously I'm not in danger in my office sat on my seat really, but that's what my nervous system and my hormonal system is believing. It's a metaphorical lion again, and it's not nice, and it's also going to disrupt a relationship. So we can use that awareness. That's all we need, is bring that awareness to ourselves, listen to it, and then come home to who we really are, to that love and understanding, the energy behind life. And there we can start creating. We have options.
Yeah. Ollie, thank you so much. This has been lovely. And I think that the way you just summed that up probably is a great place to leave this. If people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
You can either contact me through my website, or you can I'm sure you can share my mobile number, and just drop me a voicemail or a message, and then we can organise a time to have a proper conversation and let me know about your world.
Amazing. I'll make sure all of that information gets into the show notes. Thank you
Brilliant.
so much for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thank you for asking me on.
You're very, very welcome.
Thank you for joining us today. If you've enjoyed the conversation, feel free to subscribe and join me and my new guest next time. If you're interested in the work I'm doing, or you think I can be of service to you or your organisation, please email dave@simplicityofmind.co.uk. Remember, see if you can find time to slow down and reflect. Those simple ideas might be worth listening to. Take care, and I hope you can join me in a couple of weeks.